Hey, all week we've been talking about the value of words, and we've been talking about words that sort of trigger me, cause me to react in a certain way. And so today we're going to talk about what we learned from that experience. Tom and I are going to give you what we learned, and we're going to figure out some new things because on Discoveries of the Week, we always do. All that's coming up next on today's Antidote.
Stay tuned for today's Antidote, brought to you by the Renegade Success Network. Today's Antidote features a healthy dose of thought-provoking insights and information for business owners, entrepreneurs, leaders, and nonprofit professionals. Each day since March of 2020, this program has offered that one thing to help you continue on your own unique pathway to success. And now, Renegades, we bring you Bob Graham and Tom Brush.
Hey, Tom.
Good morning. You're peering. It's like you looking into the camera. It's very interesting.
I realized I had my jacket on. I wasn't going to wear my jacket, but I had it on, so whatever. And yes, I'm in my car yet again because, at least once, twice a month, we have to do it from my car because it makes it so much more like walking on a tightrope.
Like walking on a tightrope.
It's kind of how my days feel sometimes.
Well, you should read a book a good friend of mine wrote. I'll do a little plug. Tina Asher wrote a book called Teetering. And on the cover is a picture of a person on a tightrope.
Oh, okay.
I might have to lend you that book. You could read it. That might be interesting for you to read.
I think that might be a good, yeah. Wow.
And if you'd like to get it, the book is available on Amazon. You're welcome, Tina, for the little plug.
So Tina, who is a Ring of Renegades member?
She is a Ring of Renegades member. Absolutely. One of the earlier.
Yes, very early.
All right, everyone. Well, welcome. It is Friday. We are a little bit later than usual, and that's okay. So we, as we do every Friday, we are going to dive into our discoveries of the week. And this week, we had a second week. Sort of an encore conversation around a word's values. If you remember last week, we talked about words that I try to use less, that I think have less value. This week, we talked about words that Bob pulled up that trigger him, I think is the way that he used it when we first started. And so we had a conversation around that all week. So today, we're going to share our discoveries of the week. And we welcome you to share your discoveries of the week. Please feel free to put them in the comments, whatever social media you happen to be paying attention to this on, whether it is on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, or
LinkedIn Live.
Yes, LinkedIn Live. And if you happen to be listening to the podcast, I'm sure there's some things you don't understand.
There are people looking at me because my window's slightly open.
Well, there you go. You're giving them a good show the first thing in the morning on a Friday of a holiday week.
That's it.
Yeah. So if you happen to be listening to the podcast, we know that you can't offer comments in there. We would welcome you to go to our Ring of Renegades Facebook group, where we have been talking about this topic, a word's value, for the last week, actually for 2 weeks. And every Friday, we do post a discovery of the week post. We do share a discovery of the week post. And so you can share what you have discovered about a word's values. So you can look at the words that we talked about this week, which were can't, impossible, control, and assume. So please feel free to share your thoughts and ideas around that, or some other discovery that you had this week, because we know that discovery will add value to someone else who might be desperately looking for. So, like we do every day, before we kick into our conversation, we share our celebrations. So, Bob, what are you celebrating today?
I am celebrating today that I developed a relationship over the last 3 years with a woman at Johns Hopkins Hospital, and I needed a favor to get a very simple matter dealt with there today. And I had a real small time window, and I was told by 2 people it couldn't happen. I called her up, and she was able to make it happen for me. And she called to say, hey, I hope you got straightened out. I'm like, you were really helpful. And her feedback was, you've been one of the best people I've ever gotten to talk to. You're always upbeat. You're always fun. You're always asking how I'm doing. And it's really great to get to help you. And so those things that we do that we don't think, just asking someone how their day is going, or commiserating, or she said, you always ask me what I was doing for the weekend because I typically talk to her Thursday or Friday. She's like, it really meant a lot to me. And she's someone who probably talks to, I bet, 100 patients a day. So there's a value in that.
Absolutely. Excellent. Great celebration.
How about you?
I'm celebrating the start of the summer lacrosse season.
Oh boy.
Kicks in tomorrow. First
right.
tournament of the year. So let the chaos ensue as I try to find enough officials to cover all the games that we have between now and the end of July. It'll always an interesting time. And it definitely keeps me on my toes and moving, as well as I get a chance to usually run up and down the field as well, so I can stay in shape.
How many games are there tomorrow that you're managing?
There are 12 fields going from 9 a.m. until 6 p.m. So I don't know. I don't know what that. They're not
150, 200?
Yeah, probably less than that because there's not always a game on every field. Pretty close, but
okay. Wow.
They're 40-minute games, so it's 45-minute games. So yeah, it's a good time. And I would also I should include in that the people that I get to work with are awesome because they are very willing to do whatever needs to be done to help the games go on. So I'm very much appreciate that.
Like Ring of Renegades member Frank Hanley, right?
Like Ring of Renegades member Frank Hanley. Yes, he will be there tomorrow.
Just calling out all the names today.
Look at you. You're on it this morning.
And Liz Brush, right?
She won't be there. She has a prior engagement with the Division III NCAA championship weekend. So she is off to Virginia to officiate for that.
It's a sad one for me. My niece's team didn't get there.
They got beat last weekend, didn't they?
They got beat last weekend, yeah.
Yes, indeed. Okay. So now let's dive into our discoveries of the week. We're talking about a word's value. We're talking about those words that we discussed: impossible, assume, control, and what did I forget?
Can't.
Yes. Do you want to kick us off?
Sure. It was really difficult over the course of the week to explain why these words meant so much to me, why they jumped out at me, why they triggered me in certain ways. And I was thinking about it Wednesday afternoon. I listened to our Wednesday broadcast Wednesday afternoon again, and I was realizing that I was giving these words more power than I needed to. And I was also, and we talked about the word control yesterday, I believe, I was trying to control people's usage of these words. And I don't know that works real well. I think if someone wants to use the word can't and that's their choice, then I probably need to accept that and maybe understand why they choose that rather than tell them, hey, that's a word you might not want to use because it's limiting, blah, blah, blah. And I don't do it in a jerk way, but I certainly have done it. So that was really a surprising discovery to me. I wouldn't have expected that to come through the week.
Well, I think it's interesting, I think depending on how you do it, you are just sharing the value, what's real for you about those words. Just like when I was last week is, if people want to use the word perfect, they want to use right and wrong, fine, that's fine. I just want to share to them, here are some of my thoughts around it and see how that may impact them. I can't control. I don't know what the results are going to be. And yet I think that when we share our value, we have impact in others. And I think that it also provides an opportunity to understand, when people share words like that we struggle with or have some challenges around, we have the opportunity to share with them why we choose not to use those words or the value that we place on them so that they better understand who we are and how we operate so that our communication can maybe be more effective.
I like that. What are your discoveries for the week?
So my discoveries of the week, I'll share this with you now.
That's what I'm asking. This is the part where you share, Tom. So if you were going to delay that, this is going to get awkward.
No, I was just trying to figure out the best way to frame this. At the start of the week, I was thinking about all the words that you had chosen And I sort of intentionally tried to share why those words may not have as much impact as you may have considered them.
Mm-hmm.
So part of my thought was to have a conversation where those words were not as powerful for you. And I wasn't 100% sure that I was going to be able to accomplish that task, because there are some words in there that I completely understand, and I share some of your perspectives around some of those words, like assume. And it was interesting that assume was the first word, because I just started thinking about, that phrase that, don't assume, because when you assume, you make a, what out of you and me, a donkey out of you and me. And I thought that's pretty harsh judgment for somebody who's just trying to share the best that they have with the information they've been given.
Right.
And so I think that because of that phrase, that word has taken on way more power than it likely would need to be. And that in some regards, all we can do is assume. So
Right.
I think that was part of my thing, was to really take a different dive and look into these words, and not, like a real renegade would, not take traditional convention around what those words means and how people look at them. And to maybe look at them in a different way that might give me a different perspective and something different that I can share. And I thought that was a really interesting exercise to go through, to consciously try to say, how could I have a conversation that has that these words have less impact on Bob than they currently do. And in the same way, it helped me rethink about just different ways to consider those words for myself as well, which was helpful. And I think it took some of the power, I'll just use, out of those words.
Power or weight?
I don't know. I think it's maybe both.
I think impossible is not a power word, more of a weight word. It weighs things down. Can't weighs things down. It doesn't really, can't really doesn't have power. Do words even have power? I'm not sure words have power.
Well, I think one of the things that I think the power that they have is the way that we view them, and how we are, I'll use your word, triggered by some of the words when we hear them. And so, yes, it's a weight, and I think it's also there's a power to the words that, again, and a lot of that power is given by how we perceive them. So when someone shares a word that I think has a lot of power, I take more stock in that word.
Right.
Or in what they're saying, what they're trying to communicate. If I think that, like happens when I hear people use the word but, my immediate thing is, all right, they're disregarding whatever they just said. And they're going to now tell me what they really believe, what's real for them in the moment. And so that word, for me, has a lot of power in it. The power to really disregard what you just said and put more focus on what you are about to say. So I do think there's some power in the words that we use. And there's also weight. I mean, there's no doubt that certain words, and I think because you use the word trigger, I can see why weight has more of a impact for you rather than power. So I think that was one of my real discoveries, is that if we really stop and try to understand another way to look at a word, that we can, again, understand people differently, and it opens up opportunities for more, I think, effective communication.
And also a deeper understanding.
Absolutely.
I think over the course of this week in these discussions, you and I have kind of found a little more about each other than we knew.
Which is hard to believe. I thought I knew everything about you. Maybe that was another discovery of the week, was that there's more to Bob than I thought I had it all, and not yet. Did you see how I used the word yet in there?
You're just peeling an onion, man.
At some point, you reach the core of the onion. At some point.
You're getting close.
All right. Well, if you have things that you'd like to share of your discoveries of the week around this, please feel free to put them in the comments, or again, you can share them in the Ring of Renegades Facebook group. Anything else you want to add to this conversation, Bob, before we close out our week?
No, I think I covered it. The other thing I guess I will add is the word control is really like the hot button word for me in my life in all aspects. And I found talking through it a bit was really helpful. And 2 people that heard that have contacted me and said, hey, I have trouble with the word control too. You know, I'm always looking to control things. So there is a potential commonality of experience with words that can also make us feel like we're not alone.
Sure. Certainly. Yeah, and I would also offer that I think, the other thing that I found interesting, I'm going to add this before I share my other thought. The conversation we had around impossible.
Mm-hmm.
And that rather than a door closer for me, it's a door opener to what we could have tried to accomplish. So if somebody says it's impossible, that's just really a belief.
Right.
Now let's try to see if we can change that. And many people have been very successful by taking something that once was thought impossible and figuring out how to do it. So I thought that was a great conversation. And so if you didn't catch that episode, you may want to go back. I think that was Tuesday's episode. The other thing I think is that now I've forgotten my second one. Darn it. Should have known that was going to happen.
That's what happens when you start to get old.
Am I old?
You tell me.
I don't know. Sounds like you were making a judgment that because I was forgetting what I was saying that I was old. I don't know.
Could be.
Just a thought.
It's all relative, right?
It's all relative. And I guess
to an 80-year-old, you're young. To a 20-year-old, you're old.
Sure. To myself, I never really feel any different. It's kind of odd. Just
right.
Who we are. The one thing I was thinking about is that, we just chose a few words. Mm-hmm. And I would imagine that people out there have other words for them that either they try not to use because of the value they place on them, or because of the weight, power, or something else that they feel the word has over them. And I think hopefully the other thing that maybe the others can discover is how they could look at those words a little differently. Mm-hmm. And how it might reduce the weight or power that it has, or reinforce why you have chosen not to use that word. And, I would encourage people.
Or to react to the word.
Or react, correct. And I would encourage, if there is a word out there that you struggle with and you feel like you use all the time and you're not really sure why you use it all the time, or it's something that when you hear it or someone shares it with you, it triggers something in you. We'd be happy to talk about it. I mean, be a great reason to become a part of our Renegade Success Network, where, those would be conversations that we could have with people. Yes, we help people with their business. We help them with business plans. We help them with dealing with employees. We help them with whatever the challenges they're facing today.
Structures, marketing.
Absolutely. Networking.
Subcontracting. Yeah.
And I think there are these other things that we all deal with, usually inside of our head, and there's no really place to turn to say, how could I differently communicate with people and differently understand what they are trying to share based on the words that they use, or the words that I use, and how the words I use has an impact on them that I didn't really understand or am not clear about. Be a great conversation for one of our laser solution sessions, which Renegade Success Network members have unlimited access to laser solution sessions. So if you'd like to learn more about that, you can either put that in the comments, or you can go to renegadesuccessnetwork.com or message Bob or I, and Bob or me, message me. We'd be happy to give you more information about the Renegade Success Network. So with that, I want to wish everybody a wonderful Memorial Day weekend. Hope that you find some time for yourself this weekend and do something to remember all of those who have provided so much for us, and to find time to take care of yourself. Because there is no doubt that each of us needs to find time to do some personal care. So enjoy
Amen.
the weekend. What's that?
Amen.
Amen.
That's why
Okay.
I'm going to play golf this afternoon.
Yes. Excellent. And but we will not but and we will be here Monday morning.
Big moment.
Like I said, I'm chasing perfection, knowing that I will never achieve it. So, and we will be here Monday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern time. May not be live. It might be recorded. And we will be here.
Hope
so we look forward to seeing you inside the Ring of Renegades Facebook group this weekend, or we will see you Monday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern time for our next edition of Today's Antidote. Have a great day, everyone.
Hey, embrace the renegading you. And think about what words you use or trigger you and how you might shift the thinking on those. We've given you some ideas.
And how powerful that might be.
Yes.
All right, everyone. Have a great weekend. We will see you soon. Thanks for listening to Today's Antidote, powered by the Renegade Success Network. The Renegade Success Network helps you confidently create your own unique pathway to success. To learn more about the Renegade Success Network and how you can take your next step, follow us on Twitter, connect on LinkedIn, or join the Ring of Renegades Facebook group. For full details on how you can join our community, go to renegadesuccessnetwork.com. Embrace the renegade in you.